My name is Brady Walsh, and I'm about to tell you how my wife destroyed herself with 8 words she thought would break me. It was Uncle Colton's 60th birthday, and the whole Murphy clan had gathered at his place in Mesa. You know the type of Arizona backyard party. String lights hanging between the Palo Verde trees, 3 different grills going at once, and enough Dos Equis to float a pontoon boat. The desert heat was finally breaking as the sun dropped behind South Mountain, and everyone was settling into that comfortable evening buzz that comes when working people finally get to relax. I was working on my second beer, standing near the smoker where Colton was holding court about his latest fishing trip to Roosevelt Lake. 7 years of fixing HVAC systems in this godforsaken heat had earned me some respect in this family. These were working people, construction guys, mechanics, retail managers, and they understood that when your AC dies in July at 3 in the afternoon, the guy who can bring it back to life is worth his weight in gold. That's when Dustin, Shelby's cousin, started talking about his promotion to shift supervisor at the Ford dealership. Good for him, 26 years old and already running the service department's night crew. The family was proud, asking all the right questions about the pay bump and new responsibilities. Hell, I was happy for the kid. Moving up in this economy wasn't easy, especially when you didn't have a college degree. Then Quinn, Colton's wife, turned to me with that innocent smile that should have been my first warning. What about you, Brady? Still at Desert Cool Systems? Simple question. Should have been a simple answer. I'd been there 7 years, worked my way up from installer to senior technician, had my EPA universal certification, could handle both residential and commercial jobs. Made decent money. 42 grand a year wasn't bad for Arizona, especially with the overtime. Opportunities during the brutal summer months. But before I could even open my mouth, Shelby jumped in like a rattlesnake striking at a field mouse. Oh, Brady's perfectly content where he is. Her voice had that sharp edge I'd been hearing more often lately, like metal scraping against concrete. Aren't you, honey? The way she said it made everyone go quiet for just a second. You know that moment when you realize someone's about to say something they can't take back? Yeah, that moment. The mariachi music from the neighbor's party suddenly seemed too loud, and even the neighbor's chihuahua stopped its incessant yapping. I kept my voice steady, the way you do when you're trying not to escalate a situation that's already heading south. Job's fine, pays the bills. Tessa, Shelby's sister, wouldn't let it drop. She never could read a room, that one. Didn't you have some opportunity a while back? I thought you mentioned something about Austin. That's when Shelby actually laughed. Not a good laugh. The kind that cuts through a conversation like a reciprocating saw through copper pipe. Cold, metallic, designed to hurt. He turned it down, said it wasn't the right time. She set down her drink with deliberate force, the plastic cup hitting the picnic table like a gavel. Didn't want to relocate because he knew I wouldn't move, and he was scared this relationship wouldn't survive long distance. The backyard got cemetery quiet. Even the neighbor's dog stopped barking. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed, probably another heat-related emergency call that some other HVAC guy was rushing to handle. That's not the whole story, I said, feeling that familiar tightness in my chest that comes right before everything goes to hell. No? Shelby's voice got louder, carrying that tone she used when she wanted to make sure everyone heard her. Then tell them the whole story, Brady. Tell them about the Austin job, regional supervisor, position, $62,000 a year. Tell them how you turned it down because you were scared. Uncle Colton tried to step in, bless his heart. Hey now, maybe we should... Shelby ignored him completely. She was locked on target now, and I was standing right in the kill zone. Her eyes had that cold gleam that should have been illegal in 17 states. You want to know Brady's problem? She announced to the entire party, her voice carrying over the sound of sizzling carne asada and the distant hum of air conditioners working overtime. He's comfortable being mediocre. He had a chance to actually do something with his career, and he chickened out. I could feel every eye in that backyard drilling into me. The shame burned hotter than touching a live 240-volt line. Cousin Danny stopped flipping burgers. Aunt Maria put down her margarita. Even the kids playing in the pool went quiet, sensing the tension crackling through the desert air like static electricity before a monsoon. I made that decision for us, I said quietly, trying to maintain whatever dignity I had left. No. She pointed right at me with her index finger, the same finger that used to trace circles on my chest when we were happy. You made it because you were terrified of being alone. You knew if you left, I wouldn't wait around, and you couldn't handle that reality. The silence stretched like a loaded spring. Even the mariachi music from the neighbor's party seemed to fade out, as if the universe itself was holding its breath to see what would happen next. You know what? Shelby leaned back in her plastic chair, arms crossed, with this cold smile I'd never seen before. It was the kind of smile you see on a poker player who's about to reveal a royal flush. If you want to leave, go ahead, walk out that door. Her voice carried across that backyard like a challenge thrown down at high noon. You'll come crawling back within weeks, maybe days. Aunt Quinn actually gasped, her hand flying to her chest like she'd just witnessed a car accident. Shelby, that's enough. But my wife wasn't finished. Her eyes were ice cold when she delivered the killing blow, each word falling like a hammer strike on an anvil. He needs me more than I need him, and we all know it. Don't we, Brady? That's when something inside me snapped. Not broke. Snapped. Like when you overtorque a bolt and suddenly all the tension releases at once, leaving you holding a useless piece of a twisted metal. I stood up. My folding chair scraped against the concrete patio, loud in the silence that had settled over the party like a funeral shroud. Every face at that table was staring at me, waiting to see if I'd crumble or fight back. The funny thing was, I felt neither anger nor humiliation anymore. Just this strange, cold clarity, like stepping into an air-conditioned room after hours in the desert heat. "Where are you going?" Shelby asked, her tone almost bored, like she was asking about the weather. I pulled out my wallet, threw a 20 on the table next to my untouched plate of carne asada. The money landed right next to the beer I'd been nursing, creating this perfect little tableau of a man who just paid his last tab. Looked at Uncle Colton, who was studying his boots like they held the secrets of the universe. "Happy birthday, Colton. Thanks for having me." Then I walked out. Didn't look back, didn't respond, when I heard Shelby's voice behind me, triumphant and sharp. "See? Running away like always." I kept walking through that backyard, past the shocked faces and half-empty plates, past the coolers full of beer I'd helped pay for, past the kids in the pool who were finally starting to splash again. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was walking away from a family barbecue into the desert heat, and for the first time in months, I felt cool. My hands were shaking when I got behind the wheel of my truck, not from anger, but from something cleaner, clarity. She thought I needed her, thought I was too scared, too comfortable, too weak to make it on my own. Time to prove her wrong. I drove home, our home for now, with my phone buzzing like angry hornets in the cup holder, text after text flooding in. I ignored them all. Instead, I walked straight to our bedroom and pulled out the old duffel bag from the closet, the one I'd used for work trips back when I was doing commercial installs in Flagstaff. Back when I still had ambition that wasn't getting slowly strangled by someone else's fear of change. Packing was methodical, almost meditative. Clothes, toiletries, important documents. I wasn't grabbing everything, just enough to survive while I figured out what came next. The phone kept buzzing constantly now, like a smoke detector with a dying battery. Calls now, not just texts. I let it ring. 40 minutes later, I was checking into a Motel 6 off the I-10. Nothing special, but it was clean and cheap, $78 a night. I could manage that while I figured things out. The desk clerk, a tired-looking guy probably working his second job, didn't ask any questions. Just handed me the key card and pointed toward the elevator. Sitting on that polyester bedspread, I finally looked at my phone. 17 missed calls, dozens of messages. The progression was predictable as a Phoenix summer. Angry, confused, then almost concerned. But reading through them, I noticed something that should have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. Not one person had asked what she'd said to me. Not one had questioned whether maybe, just maybe, I had a good reason for walking out. They were all worried about Shelby's embarrassment, about the family gathering being ruined, about me making a scene. Nobody seemed particularly concerned about the guy who'd just been publicly eviscerated by his own wife. I scrolled through my emails until I found what I was looking for. 8 months old. Subject line, Austin Opportunity. Still interested? Filed away in my personal folder, like a life preserver I'd forgotten I owned. I'd saved it. Don't know why, exactly. Maybe part of me knew this day would come. Maybe somewhere deep down, I'd been planning my escape route without even realizing it. The email was from Preston Hayes, regional manager for Lone Star Climate Solutions. They'd headhunted me after seeing my work on a big commercial job in Scottsdale, a 40-unit apartment complex where I'd redesigned the entire ductwork system and saved them $30,000 in installation costs. Regional supervisor position, overseeing 6 technicians, handling the high-end commercial contracts that actually required skill and experience. $62,000 a year, plus overtime opportunities that could push it past 70. In Texas, where there's no state income tax and the cost of living was reasonable. I'd turned it down because Shelby didn't want to move, because she had her job, her friends, her family, because I thought marriage meant compromise, meant sacrifice, meant slowly killing your dreams so someone else could feel comfortable. She'd just told 30 people I was too scared to make it on my own. Time to prove her wrong. I typed the email at 11:30 that night. Laptop balanced on my knees like I was some kind of digital nomad, instead of a guy whose life had just imploded in spectacular fashion. Preston, I hope this finds you well. I know it's been several months since we discussed the position with Lone Star. If the opportunity is still available, I'd like to express my serious interest. My circumstances have changed, and I'm now able to relocate. Please let me know if we can discuss this further. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The email whooshed away into cyberspace, carrying with it the first real decision I'd made in years without consulting someone else first. My phone buzzed again. Another call from Shelby. I declined it and turned the phone off completely. The silence was golden, like the moment when a noisy compressor finally shuts down and you realize how much racket it was making. Morning came too early, the way it always does when you've spent most of the night staring at the ceiling, listening to 18-wheelers rumble past on the interstate. I powered up the phone to find 23 new messages. Her family had joined the guilt parade now. Nobody asking if I was okay. Nobody questioning what she'd said to me. Just a chorus of voices telling me I was making things worse, that I needed to come back and fix whatever I'd broken. The irony was thick enough to cut with a reciprocating saw. But there was one email that mattered, and it had come in at 6 in the morning. Preston Hayes, early riser apparently. Great to hear from you. Positions filled, but we have something even better. Available for a call this morning? I called him at 8. Sharp, standing in the parking lot of that motel with the Arizona sun already starting to bake the asphalt. I'll be honest, Brady, Preston said, after we'd talked for 20 minutes about systems integration and commercial retrofit procedures. We were disappointed when you turned us down. You were our top choice, but this new role is actually a step up from what we originally offered. He explained the position, Regional Operations Supervisor. I'd be managing 3 locations, overseeing both residential and commercial divisions. The residential guys handled the bread-and-butter service calls, while the commercial team dealt with the big jobs. Office buildings, hotels, manufacturing facilities. Places where a system failure could cost thousands per hour. The money was real too. $71,000 base salary, plus performance bonuses that could push it well into the 80s. In a state with no income tax, where you could actually buy a house without selling your firstborn child. When would I need to start? 2 weeks, 3 if you need it for relocation. 2 weeks works. Excellent. HR will send the paperwork today. Welcome aboard, Brady. After I hung up, I sat in my truck for a minute, letting it sink in. I'd just accepted a job in another state, just like that. No committee meetings, no lengthy discussions about the pros and cons, no death by 1,000 compromises. My phone rang. Shelby again. This time I answered, partly out of curiosity and partly because I wanted to hear how she'd try to spin this. "Where the hell are you?" She sounded annoyed, not worried, like I was some teenager who'd missed curfew. "Doesn't matter. You need to come home. We need to talk about last night." "Nothing to talk about. You made yourself clear." "I was upset. You embarrassed me by walking out like that in front of my whole family." I almost laughed. The woman who'd just told a backyard full of people that I was, weak and pathetic, was worried about embarrassment. "I embarrassed you?" "My family was there, Brady. You made a scene. You told everyone I'm weak and pathetic, that I'd come crawling back to you." Silence on the other end. Then, "I didn't say pathetic." "Close enough." I kept my voice steady, the way you do when you're explaining why a system failed to a customer who doesn't want to hear about their poor maintenance schedule. I'm not coming back. Stop being dramatic. You're staying in some motel to teach me a lesson? I accepted a job. I'm moving to Austin in 2 weeks. Longer silence this time. I could practically hear the gears grinding in her head, trying to process information that didn't fit her narrative. What are you talking about? I explained about the job I'd turned down 8 months ago, about the better position that just opened up, about starting in 14 days. You're lying. Believe what you want. You can't just leave. We have a lease, bills, commitments. I'll pay my half of this month's rent. After that, you're on your own. Her voice changed, got harder, like steel cooling in water. So, you're really going to do this? Over one argument? It wasn't an argument, Shelby. You humiliated me in front of your entire family because you wanted to prove a point. Mission accomplished. So, that's it? You're just going to run away? I'm moving forward. There's a difference. There was a pause, and I could hear her breathing. When she spoke again, her voice carried all the venom of a rattlesnake protecting its territory. You won't last 2 months out there by yourself. You'll be miserable and alone, and you'll come crawling back just like I said. Guess we'll find out. I hung up before she could respond. The phone immediately started ringing again. I turned it off and went to get some breakfast. For the first time in months, I was actually hungry. The next 2 days were pure. Logistics, the kind of methodical work that I actually found soothing. Went to our credit union, withdrew half our savings, about $3,000. Not much, but it was mine. Transferred my direct deposit to a new account at a different bank. Changed my address on everything that mattered. Went to the house when I knew she'd be at work, dealing with someone else's dental problems instead of creating her own relationship disasters. Packed more clothes, my tools, the good ones I'd accumulated over 7 years of learning my trade, my laptop, some books. Left the key on the kitchen counter next to a note, rent's paid through the 30th. She texted demanding we talk in person. I ignored it. The beauty of a cell phone is that it works both ways. You can make calls, and you can choose not to answer them. On day 3, she showed up at the motel. I was coming back from grabbing coffee at the Circle K when I saw her Honda in the parking lot. She was waiting by my door, arms crossed, still wearing her scrubs from the dental office. The irony wasn't lost on me. She spent her days helping people with their problems, but couldn't see the damage she'd done at home. How'd you find me? Checked every cheap motel within 10 miles. Wasn't that hard? She said it like she'd accomplished something impressive, instead of just being predictably thorough in all the wrong ways. I unlocked the door but didn't invite her in. Some conversations are better held in parking lots, under fluorescent lights, with nowhere comfortable to sit down and pretend everything's normal. I want to understand what's happening here. You're throwing away 5 years over one bad night? One bad night? I shook my head. That was just when you finally said out loud what you've been thinking for months, maybe years. That's not true. You told me I was mediocre, that I was scared, that I needed you more than you needed me. Each word felt like checking items off a repair invoice. You meant every word. I was angry. Angry people tell the truth. I looked at her directly, the way you look at a customer when you're explaining why their unit failed. The filter gets clogged, the system works harder, efficiency drops, and eventually something breaks. You've been clogged for a long time, Shelby. She tried a different approach, softer. The same voice she probably used with nervous patients sitting in the dentist's chair. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said those things. Come home. We can work on this. There's nothing to work on. I'm leaving in 11 days. Are you serious about this job? Completely. What about us? There is no us. Not anymore. Her eyes hardened again, like metal cooling too fast and becoming brittle. You're making a huge mistake. This won't work out. You'll be miserable and alone, and I won't be here when you realize you need me. I'm counting on that. I went into the room and closed the door. She stood there for a minute, probably trying to decide whether to make more of a scene. Then I heard her footsteps walking away, followed by her car door slamming and the engine starting. The sound of my old life driving away. That night, I got the email from Lone Star's HR department. Contract, benefits information, relocation assistance. It was real. This was happening. The next week passed like a fever dream. I gave notice at Desert Cool Systems. My supervisor, Rick Martinez, seemed genuinely confused. I'd given notice pretty suddenly, he said. Was everything okay? Better than okay, I told him. New opportunity came up. Good for you, Brady. You've always been solid here. They're lucky to have you. That simple sentence meant more than he knew. Someone recognizing my competence without having to qualify it, without making it conditional on staying small and manageable. 10 days later, I loaded my truck on a Saturday morning. Everything I owned fit in. The bed and the back seat. A life reduced to its essential components, like stripping a system down to see what actually matters for it to function. I drove past our apartment complex one last time. Her Honda was in the driveway, and I could see her silhouette in the living room window. I didn't stop. Some goodbyes are better left unspoken. The drive to Austin took 8 hours, cutting northeast through the heart of Texas. The landscape changed gradually, desert giving way to scrub brush, then actual trees that stayed green year-round. By the time I hit the Austin city limits, I felt like I was entering a different world. Austin was everything Phoenix wasn't: green, humid, alive. The company had helped me find a small house to rent in Pflugerville, 20 minutes from the main office. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a garage for my tools. $700 a month, which felt like stealing after Phoenix rental prices. My first day started at 7 Monday morning. Preston met. Me in the lobby himself. A solid guy in his 50s who'd clearly worked his way up from the tools rather than a business school. Good to finally have you here, Brady. Ready to see what we're building? The operation was bigger than I'd expected. 43 technicians across 3 locations, handling everything from residential service calls to major commercial installations. My office, overlooked the main shop where guys were loading trucks, checking equipment, planning their routes. These were my people, skilled trades, problem solvers, guys who took pride in doing the job right the first time. Preston introduced me to my crew chiefs. Maria Rodriguez ran residential service. Danny Kim handled commercial installs. And Carlos Mendoza managed the maintenance contracts. Smart people who knew their business and didn't need hand-holding. The kind of team that makes a supervisor look good, because they're already good at their jobs. The work was demanding, but satisfying in a way my old position never was. Instead of just fixing individual units, I was solving systemic problems. When a downtown hotel had chronic humidity issues, I redesigned their entire air handling system. When a manufacturing facility was bleeding money on energy costs, I developed a maintenance protocol that cut their bills by 30%. My phone stayed silent for weeks. I'd left the old number behind, got a new one for work, complete radio silence from Arizona, and it felt like finally getting a noisy compressor replaced with a quiet, efficient unit. 3 weeks in, I got my first paycheck. Even after taxes and benefits, I was taking home more than I'd made in a month at Desert Cool. I paid rent, bought groceries, set up utilities, and still had money left over. Actual savings. The kind of financial breathing room I'd forgotten was possible. 2 months in, curiosity got the better of me. I dug the old phone out of a drawer and powered it up. 87 missed calls, over 200 text messages. The progression was predictable as monsoon season. Her anger, confusion, then desperation. Then her family joined in, Uncle Colton saying whatever happened, we could work it out. Tessa insisting Shelby was a mess. I needed to come back. Even her mother, who never particularly liked me, saying marriage was about forgiveness. Not one person asked what she'd said to me. Not one acknowledged that maybe she'd driven me to this point. They were all worried about Shelby's feelings, about the family drama, about me making everyone uncomfortable. The most recent message was from a week ago, from Shelby herself. I talked to a lawyer. If you want a divorce, fine. But we need to handle this properly. I turned the phone back off and put it away. Some conversations don't need to happen. At work, things kept improving. Preston assigned me to oversee a major commercial job, retrofitting the HVAC system for a new, now office complex downtown. 6-figure contract, tight deadline, complex logistics involving coordinating with electricians, plumbers, and the general contractor. My team delivered 2 days ahead of schedule and $15,000 under budget. You've got good instincts, Preston told me afterward. Natural leadership, that's rare in this business. 4 months in, I met someone. Her name was Paige Rodriguez, Maria's sister, worked in parts coordination for one of our suppliers. Funny, smart, with a no-nonsense attitude that reminded me why I'd moved to Texas in the first place. We grabbed coffee after a job site meeting, nothing serious, just conversation. She asked about Arizona, why I'd left. Needed a change, I said. Running from something or toward something. Both, I guess, she smiled. Fair enough, most good decisions are. We started hanging out. Movies, barbecue joints, Longhorns games when we could get tickets. Easy, comfortable, no drama. She had her own life, her own ambitions, her own opinions about everything from politics to the best breakfast tacos in Austin. Didn't need me to be anything other than myself. One evening, she asked about my ex-wife. What was she like? I thought about it, watching the sunset paint the Austin skyline gold. She needed me to be smaller than I am, needed someone she could control. And now I'm done being small. Paige nodded. Good. I like this version of you. 6 months in, Preston called me into his office with news that shouldn't have surprised me, but did. We're expanding operations, opening a 4th location in San Antonio. I want you to run it. The promotion came with another raise, $85,000 base, plus profit sharing that could push it past $100,000. I was making more than twice what I'd earned in Phoenix, in a state where the money actually went somewhere. That night, I got a message on my work phone from an unknown number. Somehow, they'd tracked down my new contact information. It was Tessa. I know you probably won't respond, but I need to tell you something. Shelby's not doing well. Lost her job last week. Her boss said she'd been distracted making mistakes. She's barely eating. Had to move back in with mom and dad. I'm worried about her. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me felt bad. 5 years together, you don't just stop caring overnight. But the bigger part, the part that remembered sitting in that backyard while she told everyone I was weak and pathetic, felt nothing but cold satisfaction. She'd been so certain I'd come crawling back within weeks, so confident that I needed her more than she needed me. Turns out the opposite was true, and now she was finding out the hard way. I deleted the message. The divorce papers came through the next week. Clean split, no alimony, no complications. 7 pages of legal language that boiled down to, we're done. We owe each other. Nothing, goodbye. I signed where indicated and shipped them back to the lawyer. That night, I took Paige to dinner at a nice steakhouse downtown. Real cloth napkins, wine lists thicker than a maintenance manual, the kind of place I never could have afforded in Phoenix. What are we celebrating? She asked. Freedom, I said. We clinked glasses, and I thought about Shelby's words that night in Uncle Colton's backyard. About how I'd come crawling back within weeks. About how I needed her more than she needed me. She'd been wrong about everything. Sometimes the biggest favor someone can do is dare you to prove them wrong. Sometimes you don't know how strong you are until someone forces you to find out.